Christine Brennan just exposed the WNBA in a major way.
Christine Brennan is one of the best sports writers in the country, has been for a long time.
Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge. And to then see this negativity, like why and what should have been done? I looked seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it at Iowa. You see these TV.
The WNBA just got exposed in the most embarrassing way possible. Legendary USA Today journalist Christine Brennan has finally had enough of the nonsense and dropped a truth bomb so massive it shook the entire league. We're talking receipts, pettiness, and a full-on gutting of the WNBA's credibility over how they've treated Caitlin Clark. It's brutal, and everyone from the commissioner to jealous vets should be sweating. What do you think? Is this all jealousy over Caitlin Clark or pure incompetence? Drop your thoughts below. Let's get into it.
Came out, what she had to say in this book was going to shake the ground of the WNBA. She's been around for a very long time, and she knows the inner and outer workings of this league. Christine Brennan let it be known in multiple interviews that the WNBA was not ready for a superstar like Caitlin.
Here's how the drama started. Christine Brennan, one of the most respected voices in sports journalism, wrote a book, and not some yay girl power fluff piece. She went full investigative mode, tearing into how the WNBA completely fumbled the once-in-a-lifetime Caitlin Clark moment. It wasn't just spicy commentary, it was scorched earth journalism, and the aftershocks are still hitting the league.
The thing I don't get, Christine, is that in the case of Tiger and in the case of Jordan, the other players and the league around them, in Tiger's case, the PGA Tour, realized that a rising tide raises all boats and were incredibly supportive of Tiger and Jordan. With Caitlin, it seems like, for whatever reason, she's polarizing. Like she's been hit with more flagrant fouls than any player ever this year. They tried to come at you when you were writing a story and said, don't ask questions about why people don't like Caitlin Clark. But I'm going to ask you, Christine, why is she polarizing in your opinion? Why do people not embrace the phenomenon that is Caitlin Clark?
Brennan didn't come to hand out trophies. She came with facts. She exposed how clueless, jealous, and lazy the WNBA leadership was when the biggest star in women's basketball history dropped right into their laps. Caitlin Clark isn't just another rookie. She's the force who made the WNBA matter. And instead of celebrating, the league seemed to resent her for it.
One of the big points in the book, I deal with all of this and my research and reporting, because I was perplexed as well. I mean, this is the greatest moment ever for the WNBA. Yep. We wish it happened sooner. Of course we wish it happened sooner. There were amazing players who, as you know, both you guys know, were toiling in obscurity, the male-dominated mainstream sports media ignoring them.
One of Brennan's jaw-dropping reveals, the day after Caitlin declared for the 2024 draft, she called a senior league official for their take. You'd expect fireworks and excitement. Instead, the official told her Clark was the biggest thing since Maya Moore. Maya's a legend, but outside hardcore fans, most people couldn't even recognize her. That comment showed just how out of touch the WNBA leadership really was.
From home, like everybody else. And I think, guys, that actually helped me understand as a journalist the fascination, because I've covered a lot over my career and been very fortunate to be at Wimbledon's and Super Bowls and Tiger Woods and you name it, I've covered it. And I'm so lucky to have done that. And I found myself fascinated, like, who is this? And I'm getting text messages from guys who would never have watched a second of women's basketball. Good guys, they want their daughters to play sports. I mean, good people, but just And they're texting, are you there? I'm watching. Are you seeing this performance? And that told me something that I actually was very helpful to be at home watching it versus being on press row, talking to a bunch of other journalists, that like, okay, there's something going on in the country here. And it's everyone's fascinated and people are standing in line for hours in the cold around the Big Ten, this barnstorming tour. And it's all about a basketball player who happens to be a woman.
Brennan instantly knew what they didn't. Caitlin Clark was about to become a cultural avalanche. While execs were stuck comparing her to old stars, Brennan could see she was about to rewrite the entire narrative of women's sports. But what did the league do with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Nothing. They sat on their hands and missed the easiest marketing layup in history. It's almost impressive how incompetent they were. Brennan's book shows the WNBA didn't just fail to prepare for Clark, they couldn't even imagine her level of impact. They'd been irrelevant for so long, they didn't know how to handle success. Picture running a bakery and being shocked when people show up to buy bread. That's the league's energy right now.
Unauthorized, which is not ominous at all. You want it to be unauthorized because I can tell the truth, unvarnished. Caitlin's quoted throughout the book. She was great answering any question I asked her, but dealing with these important issues. So you've got a 74% black league. We understand this. I mean, I'm white. You know, Ramona, I think you guys are white.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it's like to be black in America. And I say that. Let's be brutally honest here. Here comes a white woman from Iowa, and she's going to be the biggest superstar. Now, absolutely, the spotlight's shining on her. Finally, it's shining on all these other players who deserved it for years but never got it. And that's a wonderful turn of events. But instead of focusing on the positives, sadly, the WNBA players, so many of them, not all.
It's not like nobody saw this coming. Journalists and YouTubers had been tracking Clark since her Iowa days, waving red flags that she was different. Her fan base was massive, engaged, and ready to follow her to the pros. But the WNBA front office ignored it. In 2023, Indiana Fever games barely drew 4,000 fans. Then Caitlin showed up, and suddenly, people were lining up 2 hours early like it was a Taylor Swift concert. Security had never seen anything like it.
And an antagonist. And I've argued that the NBA could use a little bit more of hero and villain to popularize the sport again. The WNBA does not need that because for a lot of America, Caitlin Clark is the hero. And anyone that comes to Caitlin Clark's defense is a hero. And everyone that flagrantly fouls her, speaks poorly of her, acts like she's not great is the villain, and then vice versa on that. How big of a part of the story is that when you look at the conflict surrounding Caitlin Clark?
So, how did the WNBA capitalize? Did they roll out red carpets, promos, or media campaigns? Of course not. They acted like grumpy neighbors annoyed by the noise. It's almost like they preferred being ignored to actually succeeding. Unreal.
We got grown men on talking head shows wanting to fight each other over women's basketball and talking about it, right? We've got all these hot takes about all this going on, Christine. How big of a part of the story is that for you, and is that for this book?
I deal with it for sure in the book. And, you know, I think what we've seen is surprising to me. Having covered women's sports as well as men's, you know, for the length of my career.
The jealousy Brennan uncovers is the most damning part. She shows that league officials, players, and even some media couldn't handle a rookie drawing more attention than veterans who'd been grinding for years. Suddenly, ratings were exploding, arenas were packed, and Caitlin Clark was the face of it all, and that didn't sit well with a lot of people.
And here comes Caitlin Clark, and let's say it, and I say it in the book, I'd go into this in depth. A white woman from Iowa in a 74% black league. That's an issue. The book is the first real journalistic look at this entire season and at Caitlin Clark and what she's done and all these issues that are out there. No holds barred. I shy away from nothing.
Instead of celebrating success, the league turned cold. Dirty fouls, snide quotes, swallowed whistles. The resentment was obvious. Some players and media even complained she was getting too much attention. Imagine being mad your league finally matters.
And I look at the way players like Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Cheryl Swoops with her flurry of falsehoods, Cheryl Reeve, the Olympic coach, Gino Auriemma, really tried to minimize her and were very critical of her. That stunned me. You should be saying, this is great. You don't have to cheer for her. You guard her. You play tough. She's not a victim. She loves to throw it at people. She's feisty and tough out there. And that makes her, I think, even more appealing to so many people. But for this group of people to want to say such negative things and be so wrong about her, okay, fine. It's a free country. You can do what you want. But what she's doing by going into the WNBA.
The craziest part? None of this was surprising. Caitlin's time at Iowa showed she was a national brand. She broke records, sold out arenas, and built a following bigger than the entire WNBA's. Everyone could see her fan base would follow her, except the people running the league. Brennan also highlights a toxic mindset inside the WNBA that mainstream popularity somehow taints their game. Instead of embracing growth, they treated Clark's rise like a threat. The result? She became a target of jealousy and cheap shots on national TV.
So Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge to men's golf. And to then see this negativity, the next question would be, or your viewers and listeners are probably say, okay, so like why? And what should have been done? And I look seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it in Iowa. You see these TV ratings. 4 million more, as I said, watching the women than the men. I think it's worth repeating a few times because It is such a stunning statistic.
The WNBA completely botched the biggest marketing opportunity in its history. They had Caitlin Clark, a global phenomenon, and still fumbled everything from merch to scheduling. It wasn't just incompetence, it was willful blindness. Now, even in her second season, the same patterns remain. Clark's games still dominate ratings, her merch sells out instantly, and arenas explode with energy. Yet, the league still seems uncomfortable with her success, like they'd rather things go back to the old, quieter days.
One white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. So the social media is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But, I always tell the players, I was told a long time ago, if someone's typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. So it's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more so than they were 5 years ago.
Brennan's reporting torches the WNBA's leadership for failing to embrace their own miracle. The league was struggling for relevance, and then Clark walked in and revived it overnight. Instead of celebrating, they treated her like a problem. It's the ultimate case of an organization sabotaging itself. Brennan's story is bigger than sports. It's about how old systems resist change, even when it's their only hope.
Such an incredible moment on a global scale for our game, for our players.
It's like the fans are absolutely incredible. It's the same when we go on the road. Like there's so many people that are showing up in fever gear. It's really affecting, teams all across our league, which is a really great thing. And, really, I think we're just scratching the surface.
Brennan shows how league insiders completely misread the moment. They thought staying niche made them noble, forgetting that pro sports exist to entertain as many people as possible. All they had to do was back Caitlin Clark, protect her, and ride the wave. But they did the opposite. She also shows how new media, YouTubers, TikTokers, independent voices, saw Clark's potential long before the league did. While they were celebrating her, the WNBA was stuck in the past, fumbling PR, hiding marquee games, and missing every modern marketing play.
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away at points.
This wasn't an accident, it was self-sabotage. The WNBA treated its biggest blessing like a burden. The jealousy leaked into locker rooms, coaching staffs, and even the officiating. Players took cheap shots, refs looked the other way, and leadership stayed silent. Brennan doesn't spare Commissioner Kathy Engelbert either, calling her either clueless or complicit. Every ignored foul, every PR flop, every missed opportunity pointed to one thing: leadership failure. Behind the scenes, Brennan found cliques afraid that Clark's success would overshadow their legacy. Instead of helping her, they undermined her. The irony? Her success could have made everyone richer. More fans, more TV deals, more money for all. But jealousy won. Did I in the end? Brennan's book isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about a league at war with itself. She exposes how ego, fear, and outdated thinking almost sank the WNBA right when it finally had a chance to soar.